All right, welcome to the show. My guest today goes by the name of Brett Kohler. He's a comedian, he's a singer-songwriter, and he's an actor. It was great to have him on the show, and it was a great conversation. Here's Brett Kohler. Originally born.
So I was actually born in Alabama, lived there, I guess they told me for like 6 months. I couldn't tell you much about that. Bounced around to Maryland for a little bit, and then, shipped my way up on to Minnesota, up in the old Northland, don't you know there? And with all the Minnesotans. And
Nice. And so what age did you land in Minnesota? Were you old enough to get a memory of that?
Yeah, so I moved to Minnesota probably about age 4. So I remember a little bit of like living in Maryland a little bit, going to the ocean, things like that. But yeah, I definitely remember moving to Minnesota, moving there. And then I guess I grew up there all through high school before I found my way down to Missouri for college and then out here.
Where did you discover the music? Did the music get discovered in Minnesota? Did somebody give you your first guitar?
So my mom played piano, and then I actually played for like I think it was my 15th birthday, I asked for a guitar. And so then I started playing a little bit then, and then they actually tailed off, and until I got back out here a little bit. I didn't really I could noodle around a little bit, but nothing too serious like on the piano or guitar. And then I got out here, I don't know if we dive into it now, but I got like pretty sick probably about 3-4 years ago, and I'm like, I was kind of trapped at home and had nothing else to do and was stuck on the couch, was in a ton of pain all the time. Like, I need to get a hobby. So
you got sick? There was something like, you get in an accident, or was it like a health thing?
So I'll just dive into it. I don't really care. So I got lupus, and so like I lost all my hair and like had a ton of joint pain, really hard time moving. It just takes them a long time to like figure out what's going on, because there's not like one like little test to figure out that you got it, yes or no. So
man, and what were you doing for that period? That's like your life force just taken from you. You're like, man, everybody's moving at 100%, and I'm dealing with this thing. How did you move forward with that?
Just tried to, I don't know, it was tough, man. I was doing, I'm doing acting and things like that, and things were going really well, and it was really tough. The hair thing in particular, in regards to the acting, was really tough. So, I lost eyebrows, eyelashes, the whole 9 yards. So it was tough. So I was just working, I just had a job that I was working. But luckily, like I said, kind of the guitar got back into it. So I'd actually given away my first guitar to like my cousin who said he wanted to do it. And
I did the same thing. They don't touch it.
Yeah, I need a hobby. I can't just sit here on the couch anymore. And so I'm like, just tell me how much it costs to mail it out here, and I'll get it. And
wow.
And so and that's kind of how it all started. And then got really, just really into music, and I've got quite a collection now. Really kind of dived in, but it helped me through a lot. Yeah.
You guys found each other at a good time. You had it, but then you didn't really have that like need or wants to stick to it. You were a guy living his life doing what you were doing, and then when you found yourself in a place where I imagine there's so many emotions, so much stress, so much like everything's just fluctuating, and then what you need an outlet, and the music was there, and that's awesome to hear and to think that that's how you made that connection.
Yeah, and then I think it's exactly right. Yeah, it was just it was the right time, I think, for it to happen. Maybe it wasn't, when I first started, but this is definitely the right time to pick it up and kind of go with it. And then I just, kind of with the whole songwriting, everything, I'm just like, well, I'm playing, so I might as well try to do something. And then, kind of like you said, with the connection and everything, it was just something I loved. And I don't want to say, needed is probably the right way to put it, but it was awesome. It was perfect timing, like you said.
Nice, man. And Brett, you don't have to tell me anything you don't want to, but how did this moving forward progress and get better for you? Look at you now, man. You're looking better than ever. You look like you never would have believed something like this. How did this...
Yeah, well, a lot of it was just finding the right, first figuring out, like I said, it all kind of just, I was acting, and I was in this big independent action comedy that was supposed to be coming out, and I did a little part in a movie for Lionsgate, and I was going to the Emmys, and like I said, all of a sudden I started noticing, like I ran my hand through my hair one day, and a big chunk came out. I was like, and I had long hair at the time. I'm like, this is not normal. And so then I tried to figure out what was going on. It was just, God, so many doctors. And then like the joint pain started, and just doctors and blood tests. And eventually I found the right doctor, who figured it out and then took care of me. I mean, that's
nice, man. Absolutely. But you were doing something where your physical appearance and a lot of stuff was so vital, and then you start losing your hair. You start like, gosh, man, that's just insane. It's like your world just kind of puts a big pause almost.
It was a huge pause for sure, and it's it was a curveball. I mean, I didn't really know how to deal with it. I was 25, 26 when it was happening too. So, you're pretty young at that age, and so it's hard to really accept that that's happening. And then when you don't have an answer, I think that was probably the hardest part. And to figure out what was going on is not having an answer as to what was happening and why it was happening. And so, it was tough, man. But luckily I got a great doctor now. She's the best. And, I'm very thankful. Like you said, I think it's all just kind of timing, the way it all worked out. And,
in many ways, it prepared you for the quarantine. A lot of people had this, obviously they're not comparable, but at the same time, having to stay at home and, be in that energy and loss of momentum. I know a lot of people, they had pilots, they had representation, they had all this stuff, and then it all just came crashing down in many ways, and they didn't even pick up as great as you're picking up now, so.
I was 100% mentally prepared for the lockdown, for sure. I mean, it's just very similar kind of, like you said, I think you nailed it, very similar kind of vibe. And
so you get the guitar, man. I didn't mean to interrupt you, man. I'm just piecing this all together as I talk to you. So you get the guitar, it comes from your cousins, he sent it through the mail?
Yeah, he just mailed it. It held up somehow through the mail.
Yeah.
And then I think I went on Google, and I'm like, all right, what are like the 10 chords you need to know, because I hadn't played in forever, and just started from there, and then just kind of went there, and then I dived into, I got a record player, so I just dived into like the vinyl and started going, well, I want to play like that, and I want to do this, and I want to do that.
Nice. And you started to release on Spotify at which point? You gained that confidence pretty quick to say, let's just learn the chords, learn the songs, let's do it.
Yeah, so I what happened was with the first one I released was called Easier to Cry. And it was the first song I'd ever written. And it was like right kind of at the peak of when everything was pretty bad, and it was starting to get better. And so I just wrote it. I had no idea if it was good. And then I'm like, and I had GarageBand on my laptop. So I'm like, you know what, why don't I just try? I can play a little harmonica now. Why don't I just try and see what happens? And
nice.
I kind of pressed record, and turned out all right. And I was like, well, shoot, I've gotten this far. I mean, what's the point of just hanging on to this for myself? And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, it was fun to do. And,
And I'm sure you have some sort of self-awareness. Maybe you just had some good stuff there, like there was a good recording, it sounded good, some people just got it, some don't, and maybe really like it just worked, and you said, can't hold on to this, we got to put it out.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, man. I listened to it, and I'm like, can I swear?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. I was like, holy shit, this isn't too bad. Like, this is actually pretty fucking good.
Nice, man, nice.
The lyrics weren't bad, and it's not it's not Jimi Hendrix or anything, with the guitar or anything, but
hey, man, Jimi Hendrix.
It works, and
people responded well.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of hits, so I think people can relate to it. It's got when people are down, I think everybody's experienced being down and being sad and having that moment where it's just easier to cry than to do anything else, and so I think a lot of people can relate to that, and it was cool. Like I said, I mean, obviously all my friends are like, "Holy cow, you did that!" I'm like, "Yeah, that was me," and
wow. And a lot of your friends are scattered throughout the different states as well, right? You've gained a lot of friendships through college, where you grew up, so everybody's sort of following your journey in many different places.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I got and I didn't really know anybody when I moved out here, so none of them are really here. They're all in the Midwest, some here and there, Florida, New York, things like that. But most part, Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, Minnesota. And so, yeah, I mean, they all kind of keep tabs, I guess, on through social media on what I'm doing and things like that. And it was probably unexpected. They probably didn't see it coming for sure. I'd kind of gone incognito with everything that had gone on for the past couple of years. But
how long do you feel like, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brett. How long do you feel like when you first got sick, this period I went through, how long was that period when you started to release your first track?
I think it was probably about 2.5 years when it was all said and done. So I mean, it was quite the process. I mean, from like when I first started, like when I had that first clump of hair come out to, when the track was actually released, it was probably about 2.5 years. So I mean, it was a bit of a journey for sure.
Absolutely. You put the work in, you walked that walk though, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the key. You just got to keep working at it and hopefully you find something, stumble onto something. And,
do you feel like inspiration was coming to you from the vulnerability of being in such a vulnerable place, or have you always been somebody who's able to express in this manner? You need a little bit of that to do this.
No, I think going through what I did was huge as far as like a personal standpoint. It allowed me to see things in a much different perspective. It was, I moved out here with such a singular focus, as I'm sure I know with the acting and the music and everything. When you're here and you're trying to go for it, it's like, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. And, such, like I said, such a singular focus, but going through all that, it really kind of opened you up to a lot of other things and experiences and allowed you to kind of take in everything more and appreciate everything more. And I think that's definitely what it did, is I have a greater appreciation for everything that's going on. And, you have to be vulnerable and you have to be able to, as a musician, to put yourself out there. You can't be afraid. You have to be vulnerable and kind of just see what the world thinks and not be okay with whatever happens. So
absolutely. I ask that because I always think, people think a lot about the notes, how many notes are there in music, and we're losing variation. But I always think we're getting that wrong. It's reversed. It's the experiences, it's the people, and that perspective shifter is something that people should dive into the music for that reason. You don't have such a singular focus or such a narrow view on things. So there's a lot more color. There's a lot more going on because you're literally seeing that. I believe that you're seeing that, your lens, you got like a new lens on your eyes almost, and that's wicked awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and to the music thing too. I mean, you talk about, none of my songs are too complicated, not a ton of chords that I've written, kind of like you were saying, or huge like crazy solos. One, because I can't rip a huge crazy solo right now, but I think, I was just listening to like Bob Dylan, before we got on here, like the Highway 61 album, and it's just like, there's like 5-6 chords in each of those songs, but you listen to them and it's just, like you said, it has an impact on you. It's coming from some place and you can identify with it and the spirit of it, kind of like you were saying. I think that's the key to music, is being able to do that and connect with somebody, whether it's, through a 4-chord little jam or, whatever it is.
Even struggling musicians, if you had any advice for struggling musicians who have that same mindset, I have gone through things similar. I have it's a breakup, a health issue, something in life, and I want to write music, but I play and it doesn't work. What was it? What's your advice to someone like that who would say,
don't compare yourself to anybody else. Let yourself be inspired. Just write what you can and write what you feel. A lot of my, the first song, like we were just talking about, Easier to Cry, is 4 chords and a harmonica part. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated to be a good song. Do what you can, write how you feel, and you'll find some. That would be my advice. You'll find something, and it's going to connect with somebody if it's really coming from your heart, a vulnerable place, however you want to put it.
Somebody will connect.
Somebody's going to find it. It's going to help somebody, and that's that's what music's all about,
Absolutely. Now, Brett, let's transition a little bit now to how you integrated the comedy into your entire work with the comedy. You do stand-up comedy as well, right? You have that. Where did that start?
So that started about the same time. So like I said, I came out here acting, loved doing comedy, did improv at the Groundlings and things like that. I've always tried to be, trying to be the funny guy is the right thing, but I was always trying to make people laugh. The kind of life motto was have fun, make people happy. And so that's always what I've been trying to do with comedy and stuff. And, but right about that same time, like I lost all the hair and everything. I hate to keep coming back to that, but I was like, well, nobody's going to cast me in anything right now. I was pretty low. So I'm like, I still want to make people laugh. So let's go, and try stand-up comedy. And so, and that's what I started at. So, took a class, saw somebody like on Facebook at the time. They're like, hey, we're doing the stand-up class. Seemed reputable and wasn't too expensive. So I signed up and I'm like, well, this is great. And people laughed at my jokes. And yeah, that's kind of how the whole train started with that. So
very nice. It's interesting because comedy is such a raw, interesting environment, whereas the acting, you need everything to be pretty and pristine for the most part. With the comedy, you're able to kind of juggle things, especially with your situation. How were you gauging that? Were you telling the audience your situation? Were they responding? What was that looking like?
At first I wasn't. I was just kind of leaving it unaddressed because I just wasn't comfortable talking about it yet. But the more I got comfortable with it and addressed it, the funnier it got. So I think that was the key, is just being confident in it. Any kind of performance, if somebody's confident, they're gonna, identify with you and want you to be successful more, and laugh at you more and laugh with you more. I should say, probably a better way to put it than laugh at you. But
right.
But yeah, once I got more confident and stuff and started to address it directly, people loved it. It was, wasn't a big issue. So.
Nice, man. Nice. I have a lot of respect for the fact that you just seem to do what you enjoy to do. You keep putting work towards it. You're always just putting another brick towards that and progressing with your work. And you've gone through your trials and tribulations, and you've gone through some heavy stuff that people at your age can't even conceive of going through. And here you are on the other side of it, looking forward. You have music out, you're a Spotify verified artist, you have your comedy game, you have your acting, you got a lot of stuff. You're still moving and grooving. No stopping.
No stop, man. I mean, if it's what you really want to do, then do it. I think that's some of the old parents always instilled in me back in the day, is if you want something, just go for it. Just work your butt off and work your ass off, and if you keep going, eventually something's going to happen. And
how many years have you now been in Los Angeles for?
So I moved out here, like I said, once I graduated, like 2 weeks after I graduated college. So I think like 6 years. I think about
6 years. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. How are you feeling with? And then we kind of lost about 2 years with work, but you didn't lose them if you put some stuff in the oven, cooking for a little bit.
So how do I feel about like Los Angeles?
How do you feel right now, having been here for 6 years? And obviously, I know that you enjoy what you're doing after speaking with you. But I guess what I'm asking is, you've been here for 6 years. You're not new. You have experience where you can look at and say, I think I know what's going on for the most part. I don't have this vision of Hollywood. I'm gonna make it out here. Somebody might watch me at the coffee shop. You know that it takes work, and we're all just, a lot of people out here are kind of doing the same thing, but we're all different and similar.
Mm-hmm. I think, I love it here, first off. But yeah, I think it's just realizing what it takes, when you move out here, and the amount of work it takes to actually get to where you want to be and doing what you want to do. It's an incredible amount of work, and, there's obviously a little bit of luck involved with it, just like there is in anything. But, my perspective is much different when I moved out here than when I was 23, for sure. Like I was kind of saying earlier, pretty gung ho when I moved out here and really didn't know what to expect.
I guess that's what I was asking. The meat grind. You go through the meat grinder, right? You come and you're like, you know what? Maybe in like 2 weeks, and some people do actually. I've met them. 2 weeks right out of it, and they got a network show, and they got the agent, and they're just getting ready now to be SAG. And it's like, whoa, dude, you really got it good. But for the most part, you got to go through the meat grinder, and when you go through that work, you shape up better, and you have a better perspective on it, and it all just feels a little bit smoother to interact with.
Yeah, and I think you appreciate it a heck of a lot more. That's for sure. I know I do. Like when I do a gig at the Comedy Store now. When I first, if I would have done that when I first moved out here, been like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I was entitled to do. This is, what I should be doing, exactly like that. Now it's like, dude, I'm performing at the fucking Comedy Store. Like, dude, Jerry Seinfeld's been here. Like Steve Martin's been, Jim Carrey's been on this stage. It's like the people you looked up to, like growing up, your idols. Robin Williams.
Right.
It's like, and you realize, not a lot of people are going to take that rocket ship to superstardom, or even just, being full-time working, like right out of the bat doesn't happen to you. And I think the journey's like half the fun of it, right? To get what you want, and then you appreciate it a lot more when you get there. So.
Absolutely, man. I definitely believe that. You don't want to just fly to that point, because what point are you trying to get to? And even now today, it's a little bit less realistic to think you're going to get to some point and then stay there stagnant and just, drink pina coladas instead. Nothing. Like, nobody's doing that. Nobody anywhere is really doing that. You have to create some sort of process where you enjoy it, and then the journey becomes so much more exciting. You put work in, don't lose momentum. Just get better at whatever you're doing. And luck is, they always say, luck is preparation meeting, I forget the exact saying, but, being prepared, meeting a situation that is something you can rise to, you execute, and that's a great outcome. That's really it.
Yeah, it's kind of just getting yourself out there. The more you do it, the harder you work at it, the better you get at it. And like you said, when the time comes, you'll be ready. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you'll be ready for the next one. So,
you're out there swimming with the sharks too, man. You're doing comedy, not in these rinky-dinky places. You're at the Comedy Store. I just saw that, David Spade, Bill Burr, all these dudes just popping in.
Yeah, I'm not saying I haven't done the rinky-dinky places. I was in a parking lot like 3 weeks ago. So but yeah, when you get there, it's big time, for sure. And then, you do your one set, and then you get called back in 2 months, and you hopefully you get another one. But, kind of back to everything what we're saying, it's just a grind, man. You seize the opportunity that's put in front of you. You enjoy it for what it is, and you don't put any expectations into it. I think it's, if I would have showed up when I was 23, I'm like, oh, I do this set at the Comedy Store. I see a big agent. He thinks I'm hilarious. It goes here, it goes there, it goes that. And I think, going into it with that kind of expectation, it's ludicrous, Yeah, it's what you should try to do is show up and put on your best show possible. And what happens after that is what happens after that. But your singular focus should be on, putting out the best show. For everybody that's there, they paid to see you put on a show. And then you figure out that, don't worry about your thing at that time, because it's not about you at that point. I think that's the biggest thing as far as like the social anxiety. Not everybody's going to like you. I think that's another thing, you realize as you move forward in this business, and I'm sure as you know as well, it's like not everybody's going to like what you're doing all the time, and that's fine. It's okay. But you got to believe if you believe in the work, then it's going to be okay. As far as nerves and everything it is, when it comes to comedy and things like that, I'm always nervous, before a show. But I can tell you, once you get out there, just take a deep breath. I know sometimes it doesn't work, and I'm still working on it. But if I can get that first laugh, like on that first joke, then man, the train's really rolling. After that, it's like, okay, it's gonna be all right. At least I got this one. Worst case scenario, I got this one.
Little dopamine rush.
Yeah. Don't rush. It's gonna be okay. And the dopamine rush. Yeah.
Dopamine rush.
Yeah, and then but you also, and comics say this all the time. I think if you listen to any comedy podcast is out there, people bomb. Like, it's going to happen. Like, everybody bombs. Just like with music. Like, everybody's going to put out a song. Everybody's going to perform a show where it just doesn't fucking go well. And that's okay. That's part of it. Go sit and cry in your car for 5 minutes afterwards, and then, move on.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet there's a lot of that, man. I bet there's a lot of that. And comedy's always been big, but it seems like right now it's making a huge wave. Everybody's just, maybe because of those big podcasts, maybe because you hear Joe Rogan talking about it all the time. All of his best friends are comedians. I don't know what it is, but it's good. It's a great thing, but it's huge.
I think it's a great release. I think, fuck, I mean, the world we're living in right now it's stressful and there's a lot going on. It seems like there's just shit popping up every day. And I think comedy, like, and being around people, especially after everything we went through, being around people and hearing these like real people talk, it's not, it's funny to watch a funny movie. It's great to watch a funny movie, but sitting there in the audience with like a real person making you laugh. I mean, it's a connection and experience. It's very different from, anything else that's kind of out there. And I think that's kind of, I don't want to say if it's necessarily 100% the world needs, but it's kind of what the world needs right now, is that connection and just a good laugh. It's like,
absolutely,
we have to, otherwise we're all going to go fucking crazy.
You need to. You need that. You need that to offset all of the negativity and madness.
Just turn the mind off for a little bit and just enjoy.
So now let's flip that. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brett. Go ahead and finish that up.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Let's flip that now. Talking about the fact that we need that interaction with the crowd. How about with social media where there's no interaction with the crowd and you're on the phone having to manage being a comedian, a musician, all that other stuff? Does this come natural to you? Do you just drain all that stuff?
No. I mean, it doesn't come natural to me. It's tough, man. It's I enjoy it. Like, there's some funny things out there, and I'd like to think some people have enjoyed some of the stuff I put out there. But man, it's sometimes it just feels like a necessary evil. It's a lot, man, to keep up with, and it gives you freaking stress. You're like, is it, this video didn't get much as liked. There are this many views as this last video I had. Like, did I do something wrong? Am I not as funny anymore? Is that song not as good? And like, there's so many factors with social media that you can't control. And you realize it's a necessary evil and you have to keep doing it. It's just a ton of work too, And
I like the way you put it, necessary evil.
Yeah, I don't know if people at Instagram and TikTok, etc. would love that, but yeah, man, it's a grind, dude. Put out social media stuff, but that's what you got to do nowadays. And it's a great way to connect with like larger audiences. It's weird. That's why I like stand-up so much, is the audience is funny and you really have that connection with them. But it's weird trying to connect with somebody in, Fort Myers, Florida. God, hopefully Bill in Fort Myers likes my video this week, but
that's true. You have that you can offer now. Bill in Florida can see you, whereas before you might only be seen by the people at the Comedy Store who are chit-chatting about how awesome you are.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I get it. I get why it's so good. But yeah, I mean, it's anxiety provoking. It's a lot of work, and sometimes you wish it was there. Sometimes you're like, this is the greatest thing, in the world. So, I'm really torn. I mean, how about you? How do you feel about it, man?
Okay. So I think that it's, same. I like the necessary evil thing you said, because it is necessary evil. The way I look at it is I try to now, it's like the mouse where they leave, I forgot what the test was. What was it, like cocaine that they gave a mouse? And they said, how many times will he push this button and he'll just keep taking it? The thing with social media is I feel like it's too close to us. We have it in our pockets of our phones. I can't even carry my guitar in my pocket everywhere I go. So the fact that the only thing I have next to me is this sort of mindless entertainment, you got to keep your mind diet healthy. Just like you can't eat every bag of chips you got in the house. You can't just start eating all that stuff. You have to keep that healthy, your body healthy. You got to keep your mind diet healthy. So for me, consuming a lot of this media, I have had to stop watching the news. I used to like to watch the news because I'm like, I got to stay updated. Now I'm like, it's such a narrative being fed to me. And I feel like in general, social media, a lot of it is a narrative. And as somebody who likes to tell stories, I like to make films, I recognize all that narrative behind it all. And to me, I'd rather interact with it by sharing work and finding people like yourself, seeking out these artists, and then get right out of it. Try not to do too much scrolling, because the scrolling can go on for a while.
Yeah, it goes on. I mean, I'm the same way, man. Like you said, it's so accessible. It's right there in your pocket. And sometimes you'll be sitting there and scrolling, and all of a sudden it's like an hour later, like, what in the hell am I fucking doing right now, man?
Right, and that, I feel like it builds little weird habits. You know, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're finding yourself in a place where whenever you're sort of like, what do I do? And you're grabbing the phone and you're doing this, I feel like it's a little too easy, and I don't want it to be that easy. You know, I don't want it to be that easy.
I agree. And I think that's, with the content too. It's like some of it, it's put out there. I don't want to say cheap's 100% not the right word, but some of it's great. But then some of it, yeah, it's too easy, and it's just, it loses some of the storytelling and kind of, like you said yourself, telling stories and making films and doing shows and making music. It just, some of the content that's out there feels like it kind of takes away from, the real, I don't want to say, I'm not saying the right words here, but I think you're catching on the drift that I'm having right now, man.
I think you are, man. I think you're making a lot of sense. I follow through with you. And at the end of the day, I think we both just don't want people to get fizzled out with what's most important, which is what we've been talking about. I want people to get good work put out, good music, good comedy. And as long as the social media doesn't keep you from that, as long as you're not watching all the Arby's commercials that are keeping you from working on your craft, then that's awesome. Put out your work, let people discover it. If Bob's gonna find it in New York, and he never would have found it unless he did on Instagram or TikTok, that's awesome. Yeah,
that's exactly, that's a good way to put it. I think as long as the artistry behind it doesn't get lost, with like the funny like 10-second dances, as long as like the people who are putting out like the artistry and stuff like that don't get lost in the mix, then so be it. But sometimes I feel like it kind of does, and it might promote some people that are, or not promote some people that deserve it.
And these things heavily rely. I keep interrupting you, Brett. I apologize again. I feel like social media is a very young person's game, even if it's a young, and a lot of the youth is being fed the stuff that they want to be brought into fruition a little generation ahead of us. So I feel like I'm seeing it, but it's getting even crazier just with TikTok. If you're on TikTok, I imagine I'm on TikTok. That stuff's a little bit different than even Instagram. And that's the generation that's feeding that stuff. A lot of these kids are spending their whole day trying to make these same silly videos. And it's like, I don't know what that's going to manifest into.
Right. I guess. Exactly. I'm interested to see what happens. So I have no idea what's going to happen. I can't keep track of anything. That's the thing too. Like you said, all the youth. Go ahead.
What are you using? What are you on with social media?
Well, I'm on everything, man. I mean, because I feel, back to the necessary evil comment. If you want to make it in this industry and you're not at the point where you can say, I don't want to do this anymore, you kind of have to do everything. So, Instagram, I think, was the big one that I've always, really focused on. But just got on TikTok fairly recently. Every once in a while, I'll try to send out a funny tweet. And, just try to stay present on all of them. But, it's a grind, but a necessary evil. I think it's something you got to do.
Everybody's got to learn that. It's a drug. You have to learn that drug for yourself and how you're going to let it interact with your life.
Right.
Brett, I really appreciate you, man. I appreciate you for jumping on this show.
Oh, no problem, man. Thanks for having me. This was awesome. So